Hi everybody and welcome to the video and live streaming show. My name's John Lacey and as always I'm joined by Sam Proof. Today on the show we're talking all about planning, producing, promoting and all the P words as they relate to your video creation. So we're going to get it stuck into that very soon. We are going out live to all the various places, so let us know in the chat where you happen to be watching from, and I don't know, I'm forever trying to make this thing happen, but if you want to do hashtag team live to let us know you're watching live, that would be great, or hashtag team replay if you're watching later on. But anyway, Sam, how you doing? How's things been treating you?
All right. My daughter stayed home from school sick today, so I feel a little like frantic and like pulled to a million different things, but I have some big fingers crossed. I have a potential retainer gig, which is like basically they drop some money to hold me in place for a month to deliver videos every month. So I'm waiting on that contract. So fingers crossed on that. And just waiting go into the holidays and eat some good food. How's everything with you?
Everything's going reasonably okay with me. Although I did have an exciting development during the week. The Learn live streaming channel hit 600 subs, so that was amazing.
Woo!
Yes.
Nice.
And it's funny, my whole thing with stats, and it may go against the general current of today's show, is the more I ignore them, the better they turn out to be. And the more I look at them, the more fixated and neurotic I become. So, I try to avoid them as much as possible, but every now and then I'll notice and, it'll come together. So Saeed is watching in the chat, which is awesome because that means we know somebody can see us live, which is exciting. He's saying hello from Germany and fingers crossed for your new gig.
Always good. Thank you.
Absolutely. Yes. So that's happening. So let's get stuck into today's topic, and I'm just going to own the fact that I don't do many of these things at all. I sort of release videos when and if I feel like it, and I'm very intuitive with the things that I put into video thumbnails and titles and descriptions, and I don't really have much of a process. And I must admit, even the times I've tried to sort of set up a process and say, hey, I'm going to make these 30 videos, it doesn't always go to plan. And I know life can get in the way, Sam, but I am curious, and I know you're someone who loves a good spreadsheet, but how do you sort of approach planning video projects?
It kind of depends. Like there's a lot that I still leave in the wind as well. Like there's a lot of spontaneity, especially with certain platforms and things like that. A lot of like TikTok and stuff is going to be reactions to other people's videos. So there is that element of sort of, just doing it on the fly. But every once in a while, I try to adhere to a more strict sort of ethical, programmatic sort of thing where I've planned out stuff and I'm going for it. And what I'll do, and generally we're going to be talking about Cute Avalanche at this point because for all intents and purposes, the Sam Proof channel is very random for whenever stuff happens. But for Cute Avalanche, we have a few things we can count on. So I know those videos are coming, which these days is primarily adoptable cats that other people are sending in to us to promote. So, I can kind of count on those showing up every Sunday and roughly how many I'm going to have. And that's pretty much the sort of base content that I'm going to put out throughout a week. And it'll roughly cover that week. And it's very formulaic. It's got a template and it just kind of goes on its own at this point. So I haven't done much to really amplify what those are or like plan to make those better. They just are what they are because they're kind of quick return videos. And then that kind of gives me that leeway of like, now I know I have, a week covered and potentially the next few weeks are going to be covered as well. So now I can go in and schedule out and plan to schedule out other videos. So there's a lot of right now vertical videos that we're focusing on primarily. And a lot of those also come from sort of these viral templates that easily exist in other places that you can just pop your content into and kind of update a few things and jump on that uh, sort of trend. But at the same time, some of these have really a longer shelf life. Um, and I go for a lot of that. And so that's where my spreadsheet comes in, and I'll have like, these are like the sort of 10 templates that are in rotation. And I'll make like 5 or 6 videos per template, and then we can schedule those out for months at a time, because I'm only running each template maybe as close to 3 weeks apart, but generally once a month. So I'll have those going for a long time. And then we really want to get into some sort of evergreen heavy content. I'll go into a service like Answer the Public, write in cats or cat care, and get a bunch of potential questions that people have. Or nowadays, we're actually getting a fair amount of comments in our YouTube channel as well. So I can just look to those sort of comments and see if there's anything I can turn into a video, and just move around with that and sort of take a heavier production approach and brainstorm like, what's the story here? Can this be like a 10-minute video? Because at that point, I want to put something longer out, and I'll go in and make a list of those potential topics. I'll check things like TikTok has a creator insight, which is interesting, and I'm not sure it really helps at all, but every once in a while I'll use those. It's generally more like keywords and phrases to try and springboard an idea for a video on, or YouTube itself also has sort of an explore tab for your insights, where it will give you ideas, some that are reasonable and some that just seem so off the wall. You're like, nobody actually searched for this. How is that a thing? But yeah, I'll try and like lock down the ones that seem like things I would actually be interested in making a video for, and put those into a list and mull them over, and like, eventually settle on 2 or 3 and try and build out from there.
Absolutely. And I'll just check in with the chat for a second. So hello to Business Growth Ready, who writes hi from Birmingham, UK, just down the road on the left. I'm not really sure whom that is in reference to. I don't know, maybe Saeed in Germany perhaps. But Saeed also writes, I've updated dozens of video descriptions on my channel, creating a reusable template with segments like resources, watch lists, chapters, about me, and promos. And that's awesome. That's the kind of work I kind of need to do, and I never do. Even with this show, like we did all kinds of things with chapter markers, and I've never really gone back and implemented any of that stuff. Unfortunately, it's just, once I'm done with the show, I'm kind of done with the show, short of actually going back and making clips. But I kind of, and I must admit, I haven't tested how this is going to work. But let's give it a go. So this is kind of the inspiration tab in the YouTube analytics, and it says get new ideas for your next video, what people are looking for, YouTube streaming guide, how to stream study with me on YouTube, OBS Studio YouTube streaming. So I guess those are all potentially sort of key phrases and keywords that people are looking for, and I know we'll talk about that a little bit more in detail in a moment. I gotta be honest, I hate the 3 videos that they've recommended here. The one that's actually right behind my head, it reads, OpenAI medical transcription tool hallucinates during doctor-patient interaction. Which, AI is the thing that keeps on giving. But I guess... Yeah, go ahead, Sam.
Yeah, that's really off the mark, but yeah. I was just going to say that's really, off the mark of what I would suggest to you, of course, but beyond, like, it's not even channel appropriate at that point.
Yeah. And I guess, like, in some levels, like, one thing that and I guess part of the reason I don't do a lot of research in anticipation of the videos or the live streams that I'm doing is because I kind of feel like I know my topic and I kind of know the things I want to explore. Yeah. And I this isn't really meant to be a criticism, but I know lots of people that they'll just go straight to ChatGPT and write me a video script about XYZ and come back with all this stuff. And I'm like, if you don't know your topic and you don't know yourself and you don't know your audience, that's kind of already a large problem. But I must admit, I've not spent a lot of time in this inspiration tab. Maybe I should, because I guess earlier versions of this, the one thing it was always recommending to me that I never got around to doing was, how to install OBS Studio was just something that people are apparently constantly looking for, and that was
Right.
one sort of gap
Yeah.
in my content. I've never actually covered how to do that. I kind of assume people know how to do that, but I guess in terms of maybe thinking about the keywords that people are searching for, because I guess at the end of the day, that's the discoverability part of all of this. Is
Yeah.
that something you do a lot of stuff with? Is that something you dip into occasionally?
I mean, I definitely keep an eye on it from week to week for sure. Like, I don't know how often I'm really implementing, what it's giving me, but it's definitely something I'm constantly aware of. Uh, you know, I think often with our channel or our channels, because I look at those as well, and I get relatively similar sort of topics and search results. I'm like, yeah, well, that's pretty much what we're doing, and then I let that go. um, with the kitten one, with the cat cam, it's so hard because like the you know the suggestions are so varied that it's like, does that really fit our channel correctly? Because it's like cats purring, and I'm like, yeah, I mean, for a vertical video, sure, that's a great thing, but I'm not making a 10-minute video of just cats purring. I mean, maybe I should. Now that I
I
say it
think
out
there,
loud,
there
it sounds
probably is
like
a
a
market for
decent
that
idea.
ASMR cat purring thing, but again, whether that's where you want to take the channel or
Yeah,
not.
right, right. Like maybe I'm blocking myself by thinking that's not a 10-minute video, but I'll get out of my own way. We'll see what happens.
Awesome. So I guess, and again, I'm just going to show these briefly on screen, and maybe I can get you to talk to them. But obviously, TubeBuddy and vidIQ both have sort of tools for creating
Yeah,
content, and especially in terms of optimizing the titles and the video thumbnail. Well, sometimes the thumbnails, but certainly in the descriptions and that kind of thing. So again, I'm sort of just curious,
yeah,
like, have you, and I say this as someone who's never played with either of these ever, and I'm conscious of the fact that they are free, and part of
sure.
me wonders if I shouldn't be sort of exploring that a little bit more.
So yeah, they both have free and paid versions, and they both act as both a website and sort of a Chrome extension that overlays their sort of widget into your YouTube experience. So when you go into YouTube, um, immediately to the right of your video, if you're on a video page, you'll see like information about that video, even if it's somebody else's video. It'll give you a bunch of information like how many comments and likes and their sort of rating system and all these things. And the I don't remember if it shows the category anymore, but a bunch of different stuff. So it is interesting to use as a tool to analyze somebody else's video for sure. Um, and you can go to the channel page and it'll give you different insight there. And it kind of give you a comparison of like where you and they like intersect as far as views this past week or month and new subscribers and things like that. So if you've got like, a very specific um, channel that you're watching for inspiration or competition, whatever you want to use that as, it does help you with that. And that's all free. And everything that I'm saying, I only use the free versions at this point.
Mm-hmm.
You were going to say, John?
It's funny because you talk about looking competitors. There's a part of me, like I have one video that is doing the heavy lifting probably of my entire channel. And part of me really wants to use some of these tools to see if I can reverse engineer why it has popped off in the way that it has.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that might even be something to consider as well. Saeed writes, I'm not sure where the data in the inspiration tab comes from, but some of it is pretty good. I see topics like teaching with OBS and OBS for educators in mind, which kind of makes sense for me. And I don't know if the thing I'm about to say is a fair comment, Saeed, but in some contexts, teachers aren't paid particularly well. So I would almost be like free teaching tool, OBS, and really emphasizing that one.
Right.
Said
Yes.
says he'd be very happy
Yeah.
to watch the purring videos as well. And he watched the guy sharpening a knife for 8 minutes the other day, just saying. Yeah, and I think that's
Yeah.
like
All right. All right.
any of those process things. Like I've seen people power wash, spa baths and stuff, and like every now and then, just mindlessly you watch that stuff. But again, how does it actually relate to your channel and your broader mission and goals?
Yeah.
I suppose. All right, let's take a quick break.
That's
We'll be
fair.
back in a
I mean,
second.
I do
Oh,
feel
yep,
like
sorry.
those have more of a story.
Yeah, yeah.
I was gonna say I do feel like those have more of a story than just cats, because like you have a really dirty rug and now you have a really clean rug, whereas you just have a cat, then you have purring, then you still just have a cat.
And I think I think we've spoken about this in the past, but like Cute Avalanche, I feel like it has a number of different audiences, and some of them are just cat lovers that can't own cats.
Yeah.
Some of them are cat lovers that do have pets, and they want to know, what are the right things to be getting for their cats and stuff like that. So like, there's all kinds of ways, and I guess it's worthwhile thinking about that in a more global sense. But this is the video and live streaming show. We'll come back and talk about this some more in just a moment.
We are constantly training our cats every interaction that we have with them.
Mm-hmm.
So when Johan would get on my counter before, this is 10 years ago, before I was the cat expert that I am now, Johan would jump on the counter. What was the first thing I did? I'd say his name, Johan. He loves that. That's a reward for him. He said, you just said my name. I would go over to him and I'd talk to him and be like, you can't be on the counter. Johan loves when I talk to him. Ding, that's another reward for Johan. I'd pick him up and put him on the ground, but I didn't want him to think I was mad at him. So when I'd pick him up very nicely and kiss him on the head and say, I love you, but you can't be here. I'd put him on the ground. I had just done 3 things that rewarded him for being on the counter. So I was encouraging him to continue doing that.
And that's a promo for Sam's podcast, Just Kidding Around, which you can learn more about over at cuteavalanche.com. This is the video and live streaming show. I don't even know if I'm going to address Saeed's most recent comment. We might just move on from that. But today on the show, we're talking about planning, packaging, and promoting your videos. And, it may depend on where you're actually doing these sorts of things. But I guess a lot of this came almost as a response to last week's show, where we spoke about 4 awesome free video tools. And I guess behind the scenes, I was probably a little snarky to Sam, saying, I want actual video tools, not graphics tools and things. And a part of me has tried Canva in the past, and it doesn't, like, I only say this because I'm someone who's been using graphic design software for like probably 20, 30 years at this point in time. So there are ways that I'm just happy to work in, and new approaches that maybe I'm not so sold on. But I did want to give you some time to actually talk about how much you like and use Canva, I guess, especially in terms of creating video thumbnails. So take it away.
Sure. I mean, this is coming from someone who's used Photoshop for, the better half of, I don't know, like 40 years. Like, as long as I've been alive, I've been doing all my graphic work in Photoshop until maybe 5-6 years ago, when I stopped. They switched really heavily to the subscription version, and I didn't really have a license that worked on the recent computer I had anymore. So I had to make a choice, and that choice was I needed money, so I didn't pay them anything. And Canva was there, and I have pushed it to every possible limit I can, and it does what I need, which for anyone who's making a YouTube video is probably what you need as well. It's enough. Like, you don't need to go crazy. And the thing with YouTube videos is, like, they're really simple. Like, you really just need 3 elements on that video. Generally a picture of what you're talking about or something along those lines, maybe a picture of you, and maybe a 1 to 4 word phrase. And that's really it. Anything more than that, and you're really just starting to get into a land that's convoluted and just going to confuse your audience. So within that sort of construct, Canva's great. Like, you can easily manipulate 3 elements and do a good amount of photo editing within that. The thing you're not going to do, and I'm not sure that this is true, there may be paid plugins that will do the things that I'm saying that you can't do. But like, you're not going to liquefy somebody's eyes and make them super, super big, like a lot of those very trendy YouTube videos may have in their thumbnails. There are some trade-offs for sure. The things I really do like is that, I can make my own template and reuse that and just edit the things I need to edit and change the things I need to edit. But I always have like, it's ready to go. I know the fonts I want. I know the colors I want. They're all built in right there. It has a brand sort of portfolio where you can set some of that up. And if you do pay for the pro version, you can automatically, in theory, I've never done it, you can automatically have it resize and reposition all of your elements to various aspect ratios. So you can, turn that YouTube thumbnail into an Instagram story or a square post really, really quickly. And it gets to the point where, again, with Pro, you can do sort of a bulk upload. So once you've made that template, if you have, a spreadsheet, you can upload that and have it just render all of those things inside your template. And now you have 50, ready to go assets. So I think it does really great. And it's not just for video, for thumbnails. You can actually do more than just a single image. You can actually do videos. They're not, you're not going to do the same level of editing inside Canva as you are in like an Adobe Premiere or even CapCut. But if you want to do some very quick and simple sort of intro, outro, bumper kind of things, I think it's a great tool for that. We use it every year for the Cute Avalanche Super Bowl, which has a bunch of sort of packaged videos to go, which are things like meet the teams. And then it's just like the name of the team and the name of all the cats. And we have, like a kind of who we are, what we've done over the years, kind of, portfolio video. And we could just edit those templates and videos even really, really quickly. Like literally within an hour, I have, really nice videos completely done. If it's something like just an intro, outro, it's like minutes. But like for that, about us retrospective of like, here's 8 years of what we've done in the animal rescue world compressed into 2 minutes, then it might take me longer because I'm just going to be picky. But yeah, I mean, it does a good amount of stuff. It has a lot of free assets as far as stock photos and, graphics and effects and even music that you can use. I'm a little hesitant to use a lot of music just because if I don't 100% know where the source came from, I worry that, as free is not always free and it's dependent on their license, which may not be the same as my license rights. So generally I will make sure I know the audio sources and for the most part, anytime I've worked with like a program that has its own stock base, with the exception of maybe CapCut, I generally don't care for most of the stuff. Canva doesn't have an extensive free library of sounds. Most of them are paid, but there is like a little bit here and there. And I'm like, yeah. But again, like when we were doing like Restream and StreamYard, which both offer music, I'm like, I've never found anything inside there that I thought was any good. And those definitely hit like copyright issues.
Yeah.
I think it was the StreamYard ones. I don't know about the Restream.
Okay.
But that's off topic.
Cool. Just checking with the chat. Hello to Ernesto, who's watching from Arizona, saying happy Friday. Saeed writes, a friend of mine created some really nice animated overlays in Canva, the paid version, for the session you joined, John. I don't really remember which session that is, Saeed, but maybe you can connect the dots for me. But yes.
Yeah, that is one thing that you do need the pro version for, is if you're going to do any kind of transparency. Yeah, that's all under pro. But like, yeah, like the new sort of lower third overlays that John created recently, after the promos that we have, you could do something like that in Canva, but you would need pro to export it with transparency. However, bringing in a photo, and removing the background to use on top of your project can be done for free because they have all these sort of built-in plugins or apps that do things like that. So it is cool in that regard.
Nice. Okay, cool. So I guess like the thing that's sort of interesting to me, I guess, from Canva, they obviously have a lot of templates, and I think like it can be really tempting to just go find a pretty template and throw your content into it. And I kind of wonder sometimes if that isn't a bit of a lost opportunity in terms of maybe your own sort of visual branding. So I guess in some ways, I would think about what you're doing and what you look like and what you sound like, and just look at the options that you have within that software to really to resonate with the other stuff that you do. But I'm sure, you know, as you say, Sam, there's a free version. Get started with it if you want to. And you can explore the pro versions and other options that are there as well. It's been such a long time since I've actually dabbled with any of that, to be honest.
I was going to say. Okay. Yeah, no, I was going to say, like, yes, the Canva has tons and tons of templates that it comes with, but really to use it right, you should just use those as inspiration and not an actual template that you use. Like, you could start with it, but like modify everything. Going into any thumbnail decision, you should already have a style guide created, which, you know, gives you like your brand colors, 3 to 5 colors, like your brand fonts, like 2 to 3 fonts, and just general sort of aesthetics that you're trying to achieve in that. Like, you know, I want bright backgrounds, I want dark backgrounds, I want clean backgrounds, I want, you know, abstract backgrounds, those kind of things. Like, have those choices decided before you go into it. And then once you've picked out a Canva template, if you want to go that route, adjust it to your needs, change all the fonts, change all the colors, modify the backgrounds, and then now you kind of have your own template, or start from scratch and just make it your own thing. But yes, once you've gotten that far, now you have a template that is yours and you can, you know, reuse it time and time again.
Nice. Okay, this is the video and live streaming show. We're talking all about planning, packaging, promoting your video content. We're going to come back and talk a little bit about sort of the project management side of things in just a moment. This is the video and live streaming show.
Hi, I'm John Lacey, and in Build a Presentation Muscle, I want to talk about finding your voice, refining and sharing your message, using tools and technology to share that message, and looking after yourself as a creator.
And that's a promo for Build a Presentation Muscle, the podcast about showcasing your expertise through content creation, which you can learn more about over at johnlacey.com. So this is the video and live streaming show. Today we're really focusing on some of the tools and techniques that Sam employs. Full disclosure, I don't do half of this stuff. I'm much more intuitive and, dare I say, lazy when it comes to a lot of this stuff. But I guess one thing that I know that Sam really likes is, and again, I know you use this for specific projects, maybe not for everything, but certainly in terms of project management, I know you love a good Trello board. So can you talk to us about that one?
Yeah, for sure. And I have tons of Trello boards. Trello, for anyone who doesn't know, is a really cool sort of project management tool that kind of emulates having a giant board of index cards behind you, which I've always leaned in toward. You know, I think it's a much nicer experience to like have a card for a project and then move that thing over and whatever it is. So, you know, I was trying to bring it up and then I clicked on something. I have a Trello board for my videos, for one board for Soundproof, one board for Cute Avalanche. I have Trello boards for sort of the freelance work that I'm doing. And then each board has like columns that represent, you know, where it is in the progress. So, you know, for this show, I have my a board for just this show itself, and it has like a list. The first column is ideas. The second column is, it's called research, but really it just means like it's on deck. Like this is what's coming up. Like generally we don't do a whole lot of research, as John kind of said, but occasionally it's sort of a pre-production. But then so it goes ideas, research, pre-production, production, post-production, social promos, podcast syndication, podcast promo, and done. And then there's a column for bookmarks where I just put random stuff that I find. So as the projects go along, that sort of workflow, it all starts again with a template that is a card that I have created that has every possible thing that I think needs to happen in that sort of workflow. So it has checklists within itself, which are broken down almost into the similar categories as those columns. Some are more minute in their approach, and I'm not going to go through every single one of those because there is literally about 100 different items on my checklist. And I don't get to all of them. It's an ideal, like it's a checklist of optimism and hope, but no, we don't cover all of those things. But as we go through, and I digitally physically move the card along, it has a checklist that I then look to, most of which I look to on production day and go, okay, we did these ones, and then I'll do these ones. And so, we're, and it just kind of keeps me on task. And it's one of those things where at any given time, if I find that I have free time, I can go in and be like, where are things in the process? And be like, here's the show that's coming up. What can I do this week? Or here's a bunch of stuff that is sitting for me in post-production. So I clearly need to either download a whole bunch of episodes, or I need to edit a whole bunch of episodes, whatever I can to get them into the podcast side of things. So you'll see, cards stack up, and then you're like, oh, 5 cards. I better get going on this. And it's I think it's a really good, quick visual guide of like, this is where this project is at. You can do a bunch of other things. And again, Trello is one of those things that has a free version and a pro version, and pro will let you do even more things. And I'm always using the free version, but probably one day this will be one of the first things I do go pro on, I bet. It has a bunch of automation tools. So something like with our show, when I get a card and I put it into production, at 4:00, it will automatically move it into post-production because I know that it's done. Like it's no longer a thing that can be in production. It's just going to move on its own without me. So that's a nice kind of thing that you can do. You can also add labels, which give you sort of a visual guide, again, from the sort of the workspace, the board itself. So at a glance, without having to click into it, like when I'm doing sort of the freelance UGC videos, I have labels for like product ordered, product arrived, and on the sort of sales side, if it's like a hot or a cold lead or even a warm lead. So I'll have all those kind of labels that I can just kind of glance at and be like, okay, I don't need to really go into that, or I should check in and see things. You can set due dates. And I believe with the pro version, you can actually set due dates for each individual checklist item, but that seems like way too much for me. You can have team members come on and, work on your board and stuff like that if that's the thing you want to do. So like you can assign tasks out to different people. It's, for anyone who's used like Asana or anything of those, along those lines, it's very similar. It just has, I feel like for my ADHD, a better sort of visual pull that has time and time again, like worked with me. Whereas like I'll go into an Asana board and somebody else will have set it up and I'll be just like, I hate this so much, which is weird because they're the same company. But yeah, so yeah.
I guess something we didn't even actually have on our list, but I think I will mention briefly, is we do have a Discord server.
Yeah.
I think that's the word I'm looking for. You can tell it's heavily into Discord. Discord is something that
Yes,
I'm actually a member of I don't know, maybe 10 different servers, and I don't spend a lot of time in there, but certainly for this show, we have different channels where we just share different resources, and we also have sort of one particular place where we schedule the show, and that's kind of where we'll link to the show notes and the show run document, I should say, and different links and different invites that one or both of us need to sort of accept as well. So, I mean, in some ways, it kind of doesn't really matter what your digital brain looks like, as long as it works for you. But again, I think it's great if you can organize it in such a way that you can sort of find things easily and potentially search for them as well. And I guess the other thing that we do a little bit of is actually using sort of Google Docs to wrangle things. So, even the show run documents, because depending on how we do the show, the tech stack and whatever, there can be a number of different of steps. So, like, I will literally have a checklist built into a Google Doc, which includes links and things, and I will check different things off once I've done them for that show. So, whatever kind of works for you is wonderful. But I guess we do have a lot of tools, and I think it's just really a question of getting a bit of a workflow in place, and again, whatever helps you keep on track, I think is wonderful.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you don't want to reinvent the wheel every single time you go to make a video. Like, you want to have, these are the steps that I know I need to take, and here are the things I often forget. So however you remind yourself, like, I think that's really important. I touched on this briefly, but one of the really cool things about Trello is that in addition to having its own sort of automation processes, you can also link it to ifttt.com, if this and that, and have other things either creating cards for you or things that happen when cards get moved. So I have like a sort of game that I embed on the Twitch stream for Sam Proof. And it's kind of been a community open source project. Like, the rule concepts are open source, but then I do all the coding. And whenever somebody suggests a new rule, they do it in the Twitch chat, and that immediately goes and creates a card in a dedicated Trello for the game. And so people can track the progress of whether or not that feature gets made or things like that. And vice versa. Like, I've done things where, if you move a card to a new column, it'll put an update onto like my Discord. So yeah, I think that integration is really awesome as well, and potentially very powerful.
Nice. Yeah. And I think like there are all kinds of opportunities for automation. I think we've done an entire show on that. So, I think that's great.
Oh, yeah.
And again, I'd be really curious if people in the chat, if there are any particular tools that you use in terms of your video creation or your project management. I think that would be really awesome to hear from. But Sam, let's... I unless you've got anything else to add, maybe we can sort of move into maybe more of the promotional side of things at this point. So, once,
Sure.
it's one of those things that in some ways the video creation is awesome and we kind of enjoy it. We like doing it, and we're very proud of our output. But again, if nobody really knows about it, then that's a bit of a problem. So, obviously different platforms give you different functionality, but I guess for the bulk of this discussion, let's just imagine that we're working with something on YouTube. How do you try to get the word out about a new piece of content?
Sure. Yeah, YouTube has a lot of really cool built-in functionality that is there to, help you do exactly that. Like, not just relying on the algorithm and people to click over on their subscriptions tab and be like, oh, hey, there's a new video from this guy I follow. But you have the community tab, which they're actually putting some new effort and focus on, I've recently seen, which is great because I've been trying to get that thing to pop off for probably the better half of 2-3 years now. And the community tab acts as sort of an internal social feed, but it's not quite as messy as the big ones that are out there that are very noisy with other people's posts. It's like a sort of dedicated place where you as a creator are posting, and your community can easily find those, and they kind of pop up in their homepage feed and potentially other places coming soon. I think it's really awesome because you can embed your video directly into it. You can do a bunch of different posts. You could do a image post or just a text post and use it. You can use it like a Twitter, you can use it like an Instagram, but it all exists within YouTube. So it's anything you can do that points back to a video or just your channel itself is great added promotion. Within that, you can then go over to your shorts video and make shorts videos that are clips like John does for our show, and then redirect them. I forget what they call it in shorts, but you literally go in and can redirect it to another video. I have noticed going from shorts to shorts is a little easier than getting someone to go from shorts to a long form video. And I think it's probably based on the content itself. Most of those things that I've done have been cat related. So generally they just want the quick fix of like going to another, shorts video. But that's there. And then with your live streams, there's like a double whammy. Like, I don't think whammy is the right term, but anyway, you can, when you're setting up your live stream, add a trailer, and that is a video that will show on top of the video player in place of, just the thumbnail as you're waiting. So if, we set up a video a week in advance, I can put a video in there that is a good example of kind of what we do on the show. You don't want to do something completely random. Be like, oh yeah, this is what we do on the show. No, there's 10 minutes of cats, and we'll be talking about OBS next week. You don't want to do that, right? You want to do another video that is relevant to your topic or whatever it is. And that'll run on that sort of placeholder, and it'll still have the countdown of like live video happens in 4 days and 27 hours, whatever it is. That's a weird time. So that's awesome. But then really quick before John jumps in, but then after your live stream is done, you can also redirect it to another live stream that you have scheduled or is coming up. So there's a bunch of different things you can do in YouTube itself.
It's funny. I wanted to reflect on some of that, but I was literally just looking at the back end of YouTube because I wanted to I guess refer to that thing that you mentioned specifically about the related video is what I think it's called. So the related video down here, you can go in and sort of nominate a video as sort of a horizontal video from the short. But the other thing that I kind of noticed, which is kind of hilarious, I created a video during the week and I'm sort of thinking, I wonder how that did on YouTube Shorts. And I'm just looking here and it's still in draft. So I obviously stuffed that up somewhere along the line. But essentially, this is a clip from our show from last week. And it has gone out live to all various other places, but not here. And it's really funny because I don't know what happens, but for some reason, there's a clip of Sam at the top of this video. And I couldn't figure out why, but in DaVinci Resolve, it was just a different dimension to the screen share that I share at the same time, and it was just annoying the hell out of me. So I think I scheduled this one, and then I re-edited the video for like an 8th time, and then I thought, I'll get rid of that one and I'll do it again. But anyway, just double check that your videos are actually live in the way that you hope they are. But I guess getting back to the community tab, this is the great opportunity, and we have all these different content types that we can run with. So we can post images, we can do image polls, text polls, quizzes. So that's a question with a right answer, and again, people will find out if they selected the right answer or not, and a video. And this can be your own video content. It can be other people's videos as well. So if you want to do a shout out to somebody, that's a really cool place to do it. So I mean, those were just a couple of things that I wanted to mention briefly there. So in terms of maybe getting the word out on other places, and I know Sam's having a particular relationship with social media this week, which we're not even going to get into. But like, just hypothetically, if you were to to try and share that elsewhere, how would you approach that, do you think?
Yeah, I mean, when I'm doing social media promos for a video specifically, this is when I start to build out spreadsheets of things and like try to rein it in, because I could go overboard really easily and be like, we're going to post 27 shout out to this video this week. But, you know, I try and pull it back and just kind of schedule out a few different posts every couple of days or so if I can. And then once I've, I'll put into my spreadsheet like the URL, the title, and the hashtags that I think are relevant. And then I'll spend some time working on what that tweet looks like and try to replicate it a couple of times. And, I also have some automation tools that just do things on their own. So when a new video gets posted or a live stream happens, again, it goes to IFTTT and it just spits that out. And it's like, this video, whatever the title is, I don't think that gets a lot of traction, but we try it. If it does anything, it does anything. It doesn't really hurt. Yeah, I think overall it gets ignored more than anything. But yeah, it's a work in progress. And I think with sort of just your general text posts, you always want to like curate them as good as possible and like make them funny. I like to add a few emotes to like make them stand out, but now everyone's kind of doing that, so maybe we need to find a new approach. Yeah, I kind of prefer to, when possible, add an image over just letting Twitter specifically bake in like the video chiclet that it has, because I think that stands out better as well. Yeah.
Nice. I guess, you can sort of schedule those posts or you can do them live on other social media platforms.
Yes.
I think in some ways what you kind of want to really do is tease the content a little bit, because I think get into the subject matter a little bit in that post rather than say, hey, dropped a new video, because, what's the incentive to go and check that out? But I guess the other thing, and I don't have any way of knowing if this is working particularly well or not, but the thing that I was sort of dabbling with for a little bit was the thing about this community tab is if you go and find the time for any of these community tab posts and click on it, it will actually give you a specific link. And I've been sharing some of those links out on other social media platforms just to see if people will click on them and come to YouTube. Because in some ways, a lot of the time I'm just reproducing content on all the various platforms. And sometimes that works well, but there's a part of me that kind of always wants to drag people to YouTube and or LinkedIn, because those are the places that I kind of tend to hang out with. So again, I don't know if that's a terribly great approach to doing this or not, but it is something I have been toying with a little bit lately.
Yeah, no, it's funny. I definitely had thought about that a few weeks ago and started to do exactly that. And then I kind of forgot about that, which is why you need to have a Trello board that tells you to do that again. I think it is potentially a good idea because, I don't think it looks different to the algorithms that it's not a YouTube video. I think they just see the YouTube and they treat it the same. So I think potentially that does work. Also, like dropping that community post into your own video or live stream and pinning that so that it is at the top of the chat or the top of the comments feed, I think is also a really good idea to sort of get that cyclical traffic so that people know that you're doing community posts. Because I think there's still an overwhelming majority of people that don't know that that's a thing that even exists. And it's just getting them to be aware of it. That is still the the goal of that at this point. Like I said, they are putting a lot more attention on it right now, so it is going to have some new features coming that will unlock hopefully really soon, at least for my channel. I don't care if anyone else gets it. But yeah, they're definitely putting some effort into it, which I think is great. And yeah, we'll probably have new ideas and tips on how to use that soon.
Okay, awesome.
And I did want to say,
Yep.
did want to say that you can do public or members only posts on the community tab. Members are the paid subscribers, not just the normal subscribers. So that is a potentially cool tool as well.
Although I'm guessing you need to actually have that functionality for your channel before you can wrangle that, which I definitely do not.
You need to be part of the partner program.
Yeah, sure. Okay, that makes sense. I guess the other thing, and I don't, like, YouTube are always tweaking this, so I don't know if it's still as true as it had been previously, but often I'll just be watching a video and community posts will actually pop in between the related videos. So I will actually see some community content even when I'm not sort of going to that particular tab of the channel. So, you know, it's like anything. I think if you just have a go and see where you end up, it can be potentially quite useful. Saeed, I asked earlier what tools people are using, and Saeed writes Google Docs and Miro. I know he loves a good Miro board, does a lot of stuff in that space. Mm-hmm. And I guess, you know, Miro does have kind of a post-it note type of arrangement. So it is a way of organizing content. It's not exactly the same as Trello, but conceptually you could probably have those columns and move things around if that makes sense for you.
Yeah, it's a bit more free form. It's I feel like I need the slight amount of structure that Trello produces. I need just that. Whereas with Miro, I think much like my Chrome experience, I would have a million tabs open and they would be piled on top of each other, and I'd be like, I had a thing I was doing. What was it?
Yes, and Saeed also writes and the Kanban boards and other things. So I mean, there's a good chance we're all dabbling in a whole bunch of different tools. And again, like, whatever works for you is amazing. So like, don't feel like you need to jump between tools, because I think that's its own form of procrastination at times. But I guess, Sam, as we begin to wrap up, where can people find you, watch your content, all that good stuff?
Yeah, head over to samproof.tv and you can find all of my social links at the top left. I might be ignoring them for the next few weeks, but I'll definitely be posting stuff on my YouTube community page, so check that out. And if you didn't get enough cats today, which they were hiding, I guess, head over to cuteavalanche.com. And again, the community page on Cute Avalanche has multiple posts, sometimes going out daily, but at least a daily post, so you can get your fix of cats that way, as well as in the shorts feed.
Nice. And if you want to check out anything I'm doing, you can head over to johnlacey.com. I've got a whole bunch of articles, the podcast, and social media links at the bottom of all those pages, so you can come find me where I hang out, particularly on YouTube. You know, come to the Learn Live Streaming channel. Be, you know, in good company with 603 other people that have subscribed to the channel, so that's fun. I don't know if I'm actually, like, normally I would do a show tomorrow. I'm just an impromptu stream. I don't know if I'm going to do that this week or not, but just subscribe and you'll get notified if I do decide to do that. But I guess as we begin to wrap up, you know, do you have any final thoughts on things that maybe might encourage people in terms of organizing all of this stuff, especially if they are kind of easily distracted, shall we say?
Yeah, I mean, start with broad strokes. You know, you don't have to make a 100-point checklist to go on to, you know, what you're due for your video. Like, you know, start with the broad strokes. Create a style guide first and foremost, so that you know going into things what colors you use regularly, what fonts you're going to use, your general aesthetic, your general backgrounds. Have a folder of, you know, sort of assets that you might use the most often of yourself, your face, if that's the kind of thing you do, or anything like that. And then apply that to whatever workflow makes sense to you, whether that's Trello board or a Miro or whatever it is. But again, broad strokes, be like, create a thumbnail, write a script, upload video, tell people on Twitter video exists. That's all you need, right? Like, go from there. And anything you see yourself doing, you know, every once in a while, or thinking, oh, I should have done that, add it to your list as time goes on and revise that list. Like my 100-point checklist changes probably every 3 months. Like I probably go, okay, these are things I'm just not doing, or we've switched software, we've switched our workflow. So these things get taken off my template and I don't worry about them ever again.
Nice. And Farquad writes, I was working on stopping procrastination, but I've put it off. I should have a sound effect for that one, but I don't. But anyway, on that rather dubious note, have a lovely week, everybody. Next week on the show, we'll be talking about Restream Revisited. So Restream is a great piece of software that you can either send feeds out of things like OBS Studio and Ecamm Live to and broadcast them to multiple channels, but they do also have their browser-based experience, Restream Studio, and they have updated a bunch of things in there, so we thought it was a good opportunity to revisit that. So that's what's happening on next week's show. Don't forget to like and subscribe wherever you happen to be watching this, and we'll talk to you again very, very soon. So take care, everybody.